A trade could have been done today. That's the words that we heard from Dave Dombrowski from Tuesday. And a trade can also be done today as of Wednesday. Welcome into our PHLY Phillies podcast as we've been uncovering all the news going around winter meetings. In this edition presented by Ford, you can check out buyfordnow.com to find and test drive the Ford nearest you. We've got Tyler Zulli, Jamie Lynch, myself, Renee Washington, and John Foley, our beat writer, is down in Nashville, who's been joining us every day. And of course, today will be no different, as we'll have some updates from John on the latest going on down in Tennessee. And Jamie, winter meetings have been uneventful compared to what we thought it would be, but very eventful when you think about all the quotes that are coming out of it, all the rumors, all the reports, all the updates. And I know we've got a lot to talk about around the league, but even starting with the Phillies, no news has still been news in what we've heard from Dave Dombrowski and Rob Thomson so far. And I know Dave Dombrowski, one of the things that surprised me on Tuesday was his mention that today I could have made a trade, and how he was saying somebody would have said, geez, that's a good trade. I could have traded Orion Kerkering for somebody like that today. I said, I don't really want to do that, because if we're going to have all of these star players, we also have to have some young players that are not making a lot of money. A lot of great things came out of the pressers and quotes that we saw yesterday from Dave and Rob. What are your initial thoughts of just what Dave is saying and just what you've heard so far?
Yeah, it's what he's saying is truthful and accurate. I think it was a little unjustified of Phillies fans to expect big deals. We've kind of talked about this for a couple of weeks. Like, they're third in baseball in payroll. They're higher than they've ever gone in payroll. Their big move was Aaron Nola. Mm-hmm. That is it. For the most part, they are going to be running a very similar roster back. As Dave said, they'll add around the edges. They're at 38 of the 40-man roster complete. So at most, they're going to make two moves. And those moves will most likely be a right-handed bullpen arm and an outfielder of some sort. They're not going to be sexy. They're not going to knock your socks off. I'm not going to lie, Alex Verdugo last night, and we'll get into that move in a minute, is a guy that would have interested me because he didn't cost you a lot. But hopefully they have something up their sleeve here. And it's just like all of Major League Baseball seems to be waiting for this Soto and Yamamoto and Ohtani plugs to be pulled, and then the floodgates will open. There was speculation last night that maybe that was starting because the Yankees were going to use Verdugo to flip for Soto. That appears to not be the case. It appears those three are kind of holding things up, and the rest of the league is just going to react to what happens there. So I'm not surprised in the slightest. And our own John Foley, who's going to join us in a couple minutes here, was at the press conference yesterday, got to talk to Dombrowski, went to breakfast with Topper this morning, and they're all pretty much reiterating the same thing, which is like, don't get your hopes up. Like, it's not going to be stellar. And I think that's fine. What he says about Orion is right.
Yeah,
you need those young guys that are contributors to counterbalance the big money guys. They have, I think, 8 guys over $20 million next year. The most in baseball with players over $20 million. Like, I'm seeing some ire from Phillies fans on Twitter this morning, and Dave P. or John Sequello is like, damn it, Jamie, they're cheap. And I know John's joking there. But, like, some of the sentiment is like, well, all these teams you're competing against are going out and spending and doing stuff. And it's like, well, the Phillies are pretty maxed out here.
Yeah, for sure. And welcome in the chat, everybody. I know we're getting some comments on our fits for the day. Great to have you guys here.
What's the comments on the fits? What would I do? Is it about me?
Outfits.
Yeah.
Just talk about
I know what fits are. God.
I don't know the way you. I'm so sorry. I didn't want to assume.
What are they saying about our fits?
Well, it's the usual. They like my fit. They like your fit to an extent. You've got some comments on tight pants and the fact that I'm wearing some cool boots and you don't even have socks on.
I do not have socks. I just got my what are those on for you?
Yeah, I've got some cool boots on with socks in the boots. But yes, we had to bring this style. We did have to move studios because Jamie's breaking the chair in the other studio. So we had to go to a spot where he can't break the chair.
That's not true.
So welcome in, guys. Spiral Out King Crabs. That's not true. False rumors. Dave, Greg, John, welcome to all of you guys that are joining us in the chat because there's been a lot of updates. As you mentioned, and I know people in the chat were talking about the Orion thing. That kind of just surprised me because I was like, oh, we were so close to, it possibly could have happened. And listen, we all have talked a lot about the youth, the prospects, someone like Orion's future versus maybe making a move. And the Phillies have been very consistent with what they've said. And that's, as you mentioned, they're not looking to make a big splash. The big splash was signing Aaron Nola back. And Dave has a number of different quotes of like, hey, look, all the individuals out there are fascinating. And, everybody gets he's talking about how like mesmerized you get by hearing those star players' names. But we have a bundle of star players ourselves, he was talking about. He's saying how we've got, for the Phillies, have an all-star first baseman, an all-star shortstop, highly paid, a DH, a right fielder, 7 all-stars in themselves. And then the young guys, the Stotts, Bohms, Marshes, Walkers, Suarez's, and not even including anybody from the bullpen. So he also was taking this time. I know someone said an act of confidence for Kerkering. Well, hey, it's also a way of instilling some confidence in the rest of your guys too, because Dave Dombrowski was openly talking about, how fortunate the Phillies are to have such strong complementary players and all-stars that, they're not needing to go just chase all the heavy hitters and throw all the money out there. They can spend a little bit more wisely in this stretch. So I agreed with that. And then I also was interested as they rolled through, Rob and Dave rolled through the different guys and names, and we're talking about each of them. That was very interesting to me, Jamie, just to see their takes. And exactly as we knew, no surprises, the support that they had, whether it was, the bullpen jobs that are available when you have guys like Connor Brogdon, Andrew Bellotti, Covey, others that are competing for bullpen options, but also some tough decisions that they're going to have to make, including someone like Johan Rojas and what his future is going to look like. Of course, they already talked about he's going to have to fight for an opportunity to play in the majors and going to be going back down. So that did not surprise me, but I was a little saddened to hear about Yoro, not going to be an everyday center fielder and has an opportunity to become that, though, once he proves himself starting in spring training. Yeah,
that was an interesting one. I'm excited to see. Oh, okay. What the people in the chat are saying is correct. We'll get to that in one sec. Johan Rojas, I don't know if it's official, but something did just happen on Instagram. Johan Rojas is an interesting one. I want to hear what, because reading a quote and being there next to a quote, there's context and different ways to decipher things. They basically talked about Rojas this morning over breakfast, and John was there, has to basically get that plate discipline back and use all parts of the field and stop swinging it at bad pitches. A lot easier said than done, but that's they want him to get righted. But we've talked about it, towards the end of the year. Rojas is an incredibly exciting kid. His defensive metrics alone are going to break everything in baseball. So yeah, you just he's young. You got to get him more at bats and more plate discipline and all that.
Yes, definitely.
So it appears we could have potentially breaking news.
Woo-woo! Yes, we possibly do.
Because now the people in the chat, of course, it happens 5 minutes after we get on air here. Of course. I haven't seen it official yet. Have you?
No, but I see that there's a deal is expected because the Phillies are in talks with Joc Pederson. Apparently, Pederson posted something
on Instagram.
He's right
here on his Instagram. I'm showing it to the camera.
I was going to do some digging. Wow, you beat me to that too. Joc Pederson.
It says it's always. The caption says it's always sunny in Philadelphia, and it's a picture of the Fanatic fake choking him out. So it appears. Did Joc Pederson break his own news?
I would love that.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
He's the type of guy that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I don't know why else he would post that if he didn't sign with the Phillies. Am I missing anything here?
So,
it's not just like he's posting a funny picture of him in the Fanatic.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why you would post a funny picture of you with the Fanatic during winter meetings just because.
Yeah, right? It has
Throwback Thursday,
it has to mean
when
he
I
signed
was posting with, hanging with the Fanatic. So Listen, Joc Pederson definitely makes a lot of sense.
I just tweeted the picture out on our PHLY Phillies account for those of you that follow us.
Look at you multitasking.
Look at that. And I listened to you, Renee.
I know.
I'm
so proud of you. Meanwhile, I'm going
it's
blind
just baby
over
steps. So John's going to be joining us momentarily. It does, John Sequela says nothing official yet, but Joc Pederson certainly is a guy that makes a lot of sense, I think. It's that veteran type. Can play left field, might be able to play center in a pinch. Marsh is the really interesting one, because then if Pederson is here, I'm presuming he's playing left. Tyler, any thoughts there? He would probably play left, right?
Yeah, I would say there's no reason that he wouldn't.
Then Marsh and Pache become your center field
center would be my guess, correct?
And then you have Rojas
quite frankly,
as much time as needed.
Quite frankly, if it's Marsh and Pache, there's no platoon. It's Marsh. There's no
Pache
reason
would be once a week.
Correct.
It's not a true platoon. Right. Yeah. It's just a day off here and there.
Joc Pederson at 31 years old, obviously a two-time champ, two-time All-Star. Also looking at last year and his 358 at-bats, finished with 59 runs, 84 hits, 15 home runs, 51 RBIs. Plus, of course, is an outfielder. Fills a much-needed area that we've talked a lot about here on the show. And so Joc Pederson coming in would be a great addition. Definitely, I know in the chat you guys are sharing your thoughts. A righty, being cool with him joining the Phillies. So I think let's bring in...
He's actually a lefty.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. Well,
which is the most...
I guess it is bats. Yeah.
Which is the most surprising part of this. I would have thought for sure they would have gotten a right-handed bat, but for the cost, we'll find out the details there.
Yeah.
Unless Joc Pederson is just trolling Major League Baseball fans, that would be a weird mood.
Like a weird, unnecessary flex. Like nobody's talking about Joc Pederson like that, and for you to just be posting with the Fanatic for no reason.
Yeah.
There's got to be more to it. So we're gonna keep an eye on that.
John says Castellanos did something similar on Instagram, breaking the news himself.
Well, we'll see if Joc Pederson, aka King, is headed to join us in Philly. But you know who else is ready to join us in Philly? That's our very own John Foley. We know he's on a tight time crunch here, so we got to bring him in right away, repping the Bird Gang with the Eagles hat. John Foley, welcome. Now, before we even talk about Joc Pederson, you've had quite an eventful start to your Wednesday, having a chance to sit down and have breakfast with Rob Thomson. And if anybody's ever wondered what it's like to have breakfast with Rob Thomson, you can shine a light on it. Talk us through top of the morning with Topper?
Yeah, it was interesting. This is not something I was aware that goes on at the winter meetings, but they host a manager's breakfast. There's a table for each team with the manager and several of the writers around the table. No talking shop I picked up on, just sort of a casual, get together type of thing. But it was surreal. I had to try my hardest not to, geek out sitting next to Rob Thomson and start asking him all sorts of questions.
So, John, in your opinion, what was the most interesting? Well, actually, first, let's get to the most important and pressing issues. What's Topper's breakfast plate look like? See an orange juice man, grapefruit, coffee, black, cigarettes. What's he throwing back there?
I would have bet money that he would have had just black coffee, and that's exactly what he did. It was amazing. Everybody else has these heaping piles of scrambled eggs, sausage, bacon.
Hell yeah.
And he's had just coffee for him.
All right, so outside of
very
that outside of that important issue, what did you find to be the most kind of interesting thing Rob had to say today? Was it the Johan Rojas stuff, his comfort level with the roster? What did you take away with it where you left going, interesting?
So again, the breakfast this morning wasn't too much about talking shop. But at Rob's press conference yesterday, I think one of the biggest takeaways was the trust he seems to have in Brandon Marsh as an everyday center fielder, hitting lefties. I think that's especially important given the probable breaking news with Joc Pederson, also a lefty. He has some pretty significant splits between his OPS against right-handers is above 800, and I think it's in the 600s against lefties. So it's interesting if you have Marsh out there. He's somebody's going to have to hit lefties with all these lefties in the lineup. I think it's pretty interesting that they do seem to have this confidence in Marsh to do that.
Yeah, well, we did just talk about the news of Joc Pederson potentially coming to the Phillies. Of course, Joc posted on Instagram a picture of him with the Fanatic, which seems pretty convincing that we're going to be hearing some official news about Joc Pederson coming to the Phillies. But what are your initial thoughts around that breaking news that Joc is breaking himself essentially?
I mean, first of all, if he's if he's posting a picture of him with a Fanatic during the winter meetings and is not coming to Philadelphia, that is a totally insane move.
Yeah.
So I got to think he's coming here. I think he's a pretty solid fit. Again, lefty, that's unexpected. I think everybody thought they were looking more at a right-handed bat for left field.
Yeah.
But he's an outfielder with some pop. And, they needed somebody out there, and I think he could be a good fit, the lefty thing aside.
Yeah, and he's that veteran type, like you said. I would imagine it's not going to break the bank too much. But, John, this morning I'm seeing like a little just like disgruntledness from Phillies fans online thinking they were going to go out and make these big moves. They're already the second or third highest payroll. Like this move could have put them into second place, potentially, depending on what Joc's making here. I'll be honest, Joc's actually probably a little bit bigger of a move than I expected. Where do you fall on that and like kind of expectations versus reality if this is the move?
Yeah, I think, the fan in me, just like everybody else, wants to see another big move. We've gotten used to big moves offseason after offseason in recent years. But the truth is, like you all were saying earlier, they're a little bit maxed out. They're near the top of the league in payroll already. They did just drop a couple $100 million on Aaron Nola. So what Dombrowski was saying makes a ton of sense, especially if you want to have the sort of continued success that some of the best run franchises have. He's exactly right that you can't just load up offseason after offseason on high-priced veterans and keep trading away your young, promising guys like Orion Kerkering, for example, who he could be the closer of the future. He could be a closer for 10 years. We don't exactly know yet. I mean, that might end up a silly statement if he flames out. But those are the types of players you need to hang on to if you want to be able to compete year after year after year, which I think is really the organization's philosophy right now.
Yeah, and John, listen, Rob has talked a lot about in yesterday's presser, talked a lot about different guys across the Phillies roster: Kyle Schwarber, Johan Rojas, Taijuan Walker, Christopher Sanchez, Juan Soto. You kind of went through, or Gregory Soto, excuse me, went through I wish it was Juan Soto too, but went through a list of many names for the Phillies. And so being there in person is different. You get to read body language. You get to kind of see the way that information is being shared. What were your key takeaways from Rob's presser and even from what Dave Dombrowski has been sharing about just their thoughts on this past season and moving forward for the future of different Phillies?
I think my main takeaway was just that they both seem very genuine. You can read these things in print and say, well, they're saying that, but they're actually probably still poking around and maybe there's a big deal on the horizon. In person, looking in their eyes, hearing the emotion in their voice, you just get the impression that what they're saying is the truth. And I'm sure if the right opportunity comes along, of course they're willing to listen. But I think they're genuinely confident in their guys. I think they feel like they can mostly run it back at somebody like Joc Pederson, get another arm for the bullpen to replace Kimbrel. By the way, good luck, Baltimore. But I think they really think this team has what it takes to win a championship. They didn't get it done the last couple of years. They did come close, but I don't think they feel like they need Shohei Ohtani to come in here to really get them to that championship level. I think they think they're pretty much there.
So, John, one of the names that's kind of emerged a little bit could be Stevenson, the right-handed relief pitcher, Robert Stevenson from the Rays. It appears they want to get exactly that right-handed arm to kind of replace the Kimbrel absence. Have you heard any other names being discussed down there outside of Stevenson, and since this is my last one for you, is everything at the winter meetings pretty much being held up by Yamamoto, Ohtani, and Soto here?
Yeah, it really is. It's just a complete logjam. I mean, that's the talk of the entire winter meetings, is that, those pieces need to move before things can start to trickle down. And, the market really needs to be set there so that, teams are trying to figure out, do they have $600 million to spend that they're not giving to Ohtani? And once that gets clarified, then I think you'll see a lot of things moving very rapidly. I think, there's frustration among the folks here that, nothing else can really move. You can't talk too much about, which sort of mid-level right-handed arms are out there until these big pieces drop.
Yeah. Well, John, we know you have a very full day. Before you go, can you let people in a little bit on kind of like what the schedule is for today down in Nashville? I mean, Wednesday, as the week is moving along, things are also moving along. The hot stove is stirring a bit. So what's your schedule for today and what people can expect you'll be sharing with us on Twitter and in your pieces that you're dropping?
So I think hopefully today you'll maybe see, as things are coming to a close here, hopefully you see maybe talks that had been going on earlier in the meetings finally come to a conclusion. People put all their cards on the table, and hopefully we see some of these big names move. The other thing to watch for today is whether the Phillies make a selection in the Rule 5 draft. It's always sort of a crapshoot, but sometimes you strike gold. Shane Victorino is an obvious example of that. So that'll be a focus here today, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and as we go off on that Rule 5 note, De La Cruz apparently could be, the Philly. I think he's their 6th or 7th ranked prospect right now, big, tall power hitter. Any sense that they think they're going to lose him, or is there a hope they're going to retain De La Cruz?
I think the hope is to retain him. I did see someone else reporting that it would be hard to imagine another team keeping him on the major league roster all season, which of course you would have to do as part of the Rule 5 selection process. I would hate to see him go. I remember I remember watching him absolutely crush a few balls last year in spring training. Looked like he was moving well in the field for such a tall guy. I really hope that the organization does not lose him in the Rule 5.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, John, we know Chicago's got to hop on the All-City set there in Nashville. So we appreciate all the time and the assistance from all of our sister stations there. Go get them. Have a great day.
Thanks so much. Yeah, these Chicago guys lurking around. I'm severely outnumbered here.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they want their setback. So
Show them how we do it in
thanks,
Philly.
guys.
Don't be intimidated, John.
I know. That's why I had to represent today.
All right. See you, John.
Later, John. That's our beat writer and our very own John Foley down in Nashville. Of course, this episode has been powered by Ford, where you can check out buyfordnow.com to find and test drive the Ford nearest you. And thanks to Ford for allowing us to have an opportunity to get down to check out all of the action and be in the mix, whether it's having breakfast with Rob or catching up on rumors and updates down at winter meetings. And it's wild. It's already Wednesday. And things are moving along and wrapping up.
So nobody has any. I'm surprised none of the national reporters, more local people, are really talking about this Joc Pederson thing right now. Interesting.
Everybody's on the
I find
Juan
it hard
Soto.
to believe he's. Yeah, and it appears the Juan Soto thing is getting close. I just saw a tweet from Morosi that says they're going to get King, Thorpe, and at least 2 additional players. That's close to being finalized, Morosi says about 6 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So King and Thorpe are the 2 big pieces there going to San Diego. So Juan Soto's all but a Yankee. Once that happens, maybe there's a run on the position type of players, and maybe that's why the Phillies kind of jumped. If they did get Joc Pederson, they might have sensed the talk last night was that it's heating up here for Soto. So maybe Dombrowski and staff went, all right, shit, let's go get one of our top targets now before the floodgates open.
Definitely. And you know what else you can get now before the floodgates open? That's over at Hero Bread, because Hero Bread is a place you can make sure you are eating healthy, eating delicious, and also taking advantage of their tasty, fluffy bread. Now, Hero Bread has everything from dinner rolls to sliced bread to tortillas that they provide. They have breads that cover all allergies, diets, whatever your lifestyle requires, and you can make sure you eat bread that is high fiber, ultra low net carbs, 0 grams sugar per slice, and also fewer calories than the leading national brand. So head over to hero.co, use the code PHLY. Again, that's on your screen. Or again, if you're tuning in on podcast platforms, it's hero.co, as well as on Amazon, to buy Hero Bread using code PHLY to be able to get 10% off of your purchase. To eat right and eat healthy and eat delicious with Hero Bread. So a lot of things that are going on. It's been a lot of waiting because, of course, Juan Soto, Shohei Ohtani, and Yoshinobu Yamamoto are really driving the market right now. And a lot of teams are kind of just waiting around and trying to see, okay, after, the first tier goes off. And actually, Dave was talking about this too, Dave Dombrowski. It's now you're waiting for that next tier after the initial big hitters and big money superstars that are out there get taken off the board. Then you're waiting for that next tier. And so it's just been a waiting game, which has made the winter meetings a little bit different than what most may have predicted, but it's not over. And with that Juan Soto news continuing, we heard it heating up. Now it's close to being finalized. Like, all the descriptive terms we're hearing around the deal makes us believe, honestly, it could even happen while we're sitting here on the show, if not definitely within the next hour or so. It seems like they're just locking in those last little details to make sure everybody's okay with it before they officially sign off. So the Yankees have been the team that continues to be so active in discussions, obviously finalizing with Juan Soto, but also hearing them involved with Yamamoto, of course, a trade, that they did themselves yesterday. It's just been a very busy time for the Yankees.
Yeah, well, they were desperate, and their lineup could be pretty nasty if it ever stays healthy. It won't, because of Giancarlo Stanton. But yeah, that lineup could be nasty. I'm really, my brain is just spinning about the Pederson thing. If this is true for the Phillies, because if Soto is happening here, it's going to be a mad dash for the position players, and I really wonder if Joc Pederson broke his own news, because I'm shocked nobody has this. It's a really interesting move.
Also, it's interesting because I know on one side you're getting someone like Shohei Ohtani who's like, give me privacy, don't leak it, or else I'm not coming to your club. And then you have Joc, who's openly posting on Instagram. I mean, this is not on his story.
Ohtani's kind of getting ripped a little bit by a lot of reporters. I'm
kind of defending him a little bit. Let him do his thing.
He can do whatever the hell he wants.
Exactly. It's Ohtani. Do you?
He doesn't owe Major League Baseball any marketing campaign behind this. I mean, do I find the secrecy thing a little weird? Yeah, but that's his choice.
That's his choice. Some people want to be more public with it. Some want to post on Instagram, and some want privacy. And that's why I know I tweeted out yesterday, hey, let him do whatever he wants, however he wants to do it. Because first of all, he's Shohei Ohtani. He can do whatever he wants in the baseball world. But also, he's entitled, if he wants more of that privacy. He doesn't want all these clubs, in my opinion, out there hey, look at us. We had a meeting with Ohtani. Look at us. We're talking to Ohtani. But on the other side, you've got Joc Pederson. It's not on his story. It's on his actual page.
Yeah, he posted it. Oh, it's a story, because there's Callum Scott dancing on my own Tiesto remix playing with it.
I need to look at
with the caption, "It's always sunny in Philadelphia." I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and assume this is a done deal, because I don't know why the hell else he would do it. So Tyler, on the fly, the magician that he is, made a little graphic for us on Joc Pederson. Here he is last year. He played 121 games, which I think is about what you can expect here, if I had to guess. Now with the versatility of Brandon Marsh is like the X factor of the outfield. So if Joc's playing left, you can then put Marsh in center. If Joc is, maybe playing first or DHing to give Kyle a day off, you can go with Marsh and Pache. So it does give you the flexibility. A little strange that he's left-handed to me, but they might have felt as though he's the best on the market. 15 home runs in those 121 games, 51 RBIs, 14 doubles. He's not a good defensive player.
That's probably putting it nicely.
Okay. If he's a Philly, I don't want to talk bad on him.
He stinks in the outfield.
He stinks in the outfield.
He has been a negative defensive WAR player for 7 consecutive years.
Well,
and in the beginning of his career, when he was playing 12 games, he was at 0.1.
Well,
Okay.
he's nothing but consistent, Tyler. And then last year, pretty good splits versus the left-handed pitchers, but in versus right-handed pitchers, a low 186 Kyle Schwarber territory batting average, 241 versus left-handed pitchers. He does have a low K rate, which I'm sure is something the Phillies weighed heavily in getting him. It'd be nice if somebody officially broke this news. Again, this is all speculative. If you're just joining us, shout out everybody in the chat. Make sure you're hitting that like button while you're here. But Joc Pederson himself did post a pretty presumptive picture of him in the Fanatic with Callum Scott playing. It sure looks like he's going to be the Philly. So he's probably going to be the left fielder, but gives you that flexibility. Can also give Bryce a breather at first occasionally. And, he does, my mind's eye, he hits bombs at Citizens Bank Park. So this could be a really nice fit of player and ballpark. We'll find out there. But a left-handed bat, interesting. Would have presumed they were going to go right-handed, but it makes a lot of sense, I think. And is probably about as exciting as I thought. Like if it's Joc Pederson or Michael Taylor, I might gamble a little bit on the upside of Joc.
Okay.
And he, by all accounts, I think throughout Major League Baseball has a good reputation as that clubhouse guy. Infamously was involved with the Tommy Pham fantasy football weirdness and kerfuffle in San Fran a couple years ago. So
somebody already has tweeted, they're like, the Phillies have the chance to do the funniest thing and sign Tommy Pham.
So all in all, I think my expectation, when you take into consideration my expectations and the move, I think it's like about as good as we could have hoped for.
Well, for young Joc, as he's
what is he? 31? Did you look
31? Yes.
31.
It's going down. Dun, 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 dun.
Is that young Joc? Okay.
Yeah.
I put that together.
Good job. I'm
Thank
proud
you.
of you.
Yeah.
So this is the other young Joc.
How does young Joc the rapper spell it?
It's Y-O-U. It's like regular young. His young is Y-U-N. Isn't it regular young?
Young Joc. All right.
But anyways, for young Joc, the baseball player, actually,
and yes, MBD, I would imagine that's Sosa that gives.
Oh, I guess it is the exact same. It's spelled his Instagram handle is the same spelling as young
Garrett
Joc.
Stubbs better get on that playlist and update it.
I was gonna say we need some young Joc on the playlist. So listen, I just did a quick look.
Passon just confirmed it.
Joc Pederson did post on his Instagram story 18 hours ago a nice, beautiful shot. Looks like a West Coast picture, clearly of his wherever he's at. Where should I play baseball next year? And then, of course, as you mentioned, posted on his actual page the picture of him with the Fanatic. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, breaking his own news. What I like about him so far is I see he's a family man. He's out and about golfing with a cigar in his mouth. He also is one that is out. He's got young children. He's been out and about at baseball games and pumpkin festivals. He seems like whether he's a DH or an outfielder role, whatever, or even just giving great at-bats, smashing baseballs out the park, that he could be a nice versatile piece that fits in. So great to see that, looking at his numbers, and I know Tyler, awesome job quickly putting that together because we weren't expecting to be breaking some news here on the show, but here we are.
King Krabs is saying.
Tim Kelly's telling us otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. But it is
Tim
great
Kelly
to see.
from Phillies Nation just tweeted 57 seconds ago, a Phillies team source says there's nothing to Joc Pederson's Instagram post. He hasn't signed with the Phillies. So I don't know what's going on. But
I don't like him then.
That's an extremely weird post by Joc Pederson for this not to be happening. So you're seeing us all in real time as our brains scrambling here.
Well, everybody's kind of doing the same thing, trying to figure out what
But
does
then
this
people in the
mean?
chat were saying ESPN and Jeff Passan confirmed it, but Passan doesn't have anything on his Instagram.
Jeff Passan said on Twitter,
Jeff Passan.
outfielder Joc Pederson and the Philadelphia Phillies are in agreement on a 2-year contract with a club option. That was up 2 minutes ago.
It's not the real Jeff Passan.
Oh, that's a fake Jeff Passan. You're right. Oh, my Lord.
You got fake Jeff Passan.
That's what somebody in the chat just. You got.
I'm on the real Jeff Passan. I'm like, what?
You got fake Jeff Passan, and then I got fake Jeff Passan, and Tim Kelly, as you're mentioning, is saying that. Like, it's just right now the Twitter world is.
Tim Kelly works
out, just
for
like
Phillies
we're trying
Nation.
to figure it
Those
out.
in the chat. Yes, I trust Tim Kelly more than I trust fake Jeff Passan.
You don't trust Passan?
I'm going to go with Tim Kelly over fake Jeff Passan. Yes.
Jeff Passan, fake
Shout
Jeff?
out Tim Kelly.
Oh my gosh. Listen, we're going to have to keep following
change.
this.
Why is he posting that?
No, and that's what it comes down to. So Alex Coffey, the real Alex Coffey, that is.
The real one?
The real Alex. Got to make sure. Listen, I'm getting all the updates as it's loading in. So haven't even had to check the fact check.
Twitter's going wild.
Twitter's like, haven't had a chance to fact check it, but it is the real Alex Coffey. A Philly source says they haven't signed Joc Pederson. So, Joc is trolling. Fake news. He's breaking his own fake news. He's bringing it. That makes things a little bit different.
I don't necessarily believe the Phillies team source yet.
No,
because they could be still in the process of getting it physically signed
Signing
do they docu-sign these?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I would imagine, right?
Maybe they do
if I can close on a mortgage on DocuSign.
I was gonna say they might want to do an in-person fake paper like you do with a house or something, or even like college signing. They'll have you sign a fake paper just for pictures. But I imagine his team's getting sent a PDF and he's docu-signing.
So the Phillies might just say nothing happening, but it's still in the process.
Them confirm Alex Coffey and Tim Kelly and different people say he has not signed with the Phillies. Does not mean he's not going to.
Yeah.
It just means the ink hasn't been put on paper or docu-signed
Or Mickey
yet.
Durkin is saying maybe somebody's getting traded and that could be holding up. I don't know.
And that's the other thing. There's so many times we hear this, and actually I've worked in a number of different leagues as a reporter. And when you work with leagues or teams, one thing that you guys probably pick up on is the teams are usually the last ones to share things because there's so many legal steps they have to go through before they officially announce it. So something like Joc Pederson, he probably has been told the deal is happening, but they're still working through the logistics, the legalities, the docu-signs, whatever else. So it's not official in that sense. But I imagine of all the clubs in baseball, Joc wouldn't pick the Phillies to post a picture of the Fanatic just because, especially after his Instagram story yesterday saying, where should I play baseball next year? And now he's taking to his Instagram page, not a story, which does make a difference, Jamie. Posting to your story versus posting on your page is a difference. And for him to post that means there's something in the works, in my opinion. It just hasn't been finalized yet.
What the hell are you up to, Joc Pederson? Huh?
So we will have some.
Why are you playing games with us? I'm going to believe Joc Pederson knows the most about this situation.
Yeah, I don't think he's trolling. I don't think it's a situation of he's not just dropping this just because he's bored and wants to just make fake news. I think it is actually happening. It hasn't been physically finalized yet. So yeah, I'm gonna go with it's Joc Pederson to the Phillies should be breaking officially soon.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on unless...
That's bizarre. But that doesn't usually happen where we see an athlete... Well, yes, we do sometimes, actually. Sometimes you do see an athlete saying, I'm taking my talents to Philadelphia. In this case, that it's being dropped officially before everything else. But wow. Wow. You know what? I want to just quickly hit on as we're thinking and processing.
I did not think I was going to wake up this morning and be emotionally attached to Joc Pederson's Instagram page. Because now I'm like, can somebody just confirm or deny this? That's not a real denial.
No, I just think that it's...
I went from not even thinking about Joc Pederson to wanting him. Because I convinced myself in my mind already that he's going to hit 25 home runs at Citizens Bank Park.
Jamie, has there ever been a free agent you've not talked yourself into?
Yeah,
who don't you like?
On this current Phillies team?
Just in general, across Philadelphia sports history.
He's so easily won over.
No, I'm not. I think we have really good front offices in this town. I mean, I can't think of one off the top of my mind. I would have, if I was Howie Roseman, I would have kept one of the linebackers, maybe given TJ Edwards 2 years, $10 million. I thought starting over at the linebacker.
Todd Zulli has also tweeted, and it is at Todd Zulli. It is
the real Todd Zulli.
It is the real one. I just went to his page to double check. Of course, there's no blue checks anymore thanks to Elon and the X. So on Twitter, Todd Zulli posted, Joc Pederson posted a cool/funny photo of him and the Fanatic on Instagram, but it doesn't mean he's signing with the Phillies. Get this part, Jamie. They haven't even talked this off season. What a job! Exclamation mark.
All right, so Joc Pederson now enemy of the state. Screw
we
you.
We liked you, and now we don't.
There's still what is he doing?
I just have to believe that if you are,
there's got to be something to that post.
Posting something, And again, like, I'm going to go back to the post really quickly. Like, you're posting, it's just you and the Fanatic. Just you and the Fanatic. It's always sunny in Philadelphia. 45 minutes ago. Why else would you post that?
Do you think he's just like sitting back right now and watching Philadelphia Phillies Twitter burn and going, ha, 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 ha. Like, is that enjoyable to him? I mean, it could be.
Listen, he's got some young children. Maybe he's bored. Maybe he's like, these kids are driving me crazy, so I got to do something crazy myself.
So, like, Jamie, have you done weird things when you had to watch Frozen for like the 900th
like he's got like a 5-year-old daughter.
Like maybe
nobody really cares when I break news.
His son looks like he's like 3. So, like, he's got like a baby.
Jamie just tweets like, I'm signing with ESPN Houston.
Yeah. No,
and everybody goes nuts, and then he's just like, JK, I was just watching Frozen again.
I'll sit there and tweet out things like Marcus Mariota is more suited to be the Eagles quarterback right now than Jalen Hurts.
Started.
And just watch people like react to that type of stuff.
On that
but that's about as far as I go.
That's all I have as an excuse. He's got 3 young children under the age of 5, it appears, based on my quick deep dive.
I don't think that's an excuse.
And maybe he's bored on the West Coast and is like, I want to put myself into the winter meeting conversation. I don't know.
If he did this and isn't signing with the Phillies, he's officially a douche. And on that list,
will be booed for sure.
Yes.
Another guy that will be booed because his deal is nearly done and he will no longer be a Philly is Craig Kimbrel. I imagine Craig Kimbrel, for many people, it's like, adios, amigos. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you, whatever. So anyways, as I stumbled through that saying, Craig Kimbrel's deal is nearly done. It appears the Baltimore Orioles, according to Joel Sherman, are finalizing those last-minute details with Craig Kimbrel. So I know we all predicted Craig Kimbrel will not be back next year.
See you, Craig.
Looks like Craig Kimbrel and Joc Pederson have one thing in common. They may not be wearing a Phillies uniform next year. Who knows?
The Kimbrel signing I wasn't like that big on.
No.
I went, okay.
Oh, okay. There you go.
A veteran. It was just like one of those,
Yeah. So,
see you, Craig.
We're watching all the little details and on winter meeting watch. Of course, Joc Pederson definitely just threw us all for a loop. But if you need to reset and need something to help calm you, there's always retail therapy that can help with that. And over at FOCO, they're a place where you can buy merchandise, shirts, hats, hoodies, bobbleheads, toys. They are the leading manufacturer for sports and entertainment merchandise, and they've got everything that you need. And you don't have to worry about them ever having something you don't want. They've got all the latest, all the greatest. They follow all the trends. They are even caught up to date with the holidays. So they've got something for, specific to the holiday season and breaking news that's happening. So go over to FOCO, use that code PHLY10 that is on your screen, and you can get 10% off. So again, PHLY10 gets you 10% off over at FOCO when you purchase some merchandise. Now, lots that we have to still run through, Jamie,
real quick,
because
Tyler,
Joc
the only reason I
us down.
am talking myself into it a little bit is because it's slightly better than I'm expecting. Does that make sense?
So,
because I'm expecting very low bar here. So Joc Pederson was above it, so I got pleasantly surprised.
Okay, you were excited.
That's the only reason I'm surprised by him. So that's, I guess, my quasi-excitement over that. I hope he's right. I hope he did sign here because I think that's better than what my expectations are. All right.
Yeah, I think
that's my final thoughts.
I still have to go back to the fact that there's got to be something to this. Like you're not just posting on Instagram. I just don't see it. And if you are, then I'm concerned because who does that? Why are you doing that?
Yeah, that's weird. Weirdo behavior.
It is very, very odd to say the least. So just some other quick things on the Phillies side before we move along because we still didn't even get to as much in detail around the rest of the league. We're still talking about the Phillies, and it's already a lot of time has passed, Jamie. A lot of time has passed. So I know as John Foley was talking about Rob's presser yesterday, there was a lot of talk about, the future for the Phillies, and we can deep dive as much more later this week, just depending on how the week is going at this rate. But one of the things,
you bastard.
And Joc just threw us all for a loop
here. That's all I'm
here.
thinking about now.
Dun, 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 dun.
What are you doing?
It's possibly not going down. It's not going down. Okay, so anyways, Hader as MBDBDBF, you might be excited about this news. Of course, with the Phillies openly talking about, and Dave Dombrowski mentioned, they're not going after the most expensive guys on the market, and that also excludes that Hader probably is not going to be one that's brought into, and we haven't talked about Hader as someone the Phillies are pursuing in a while, but that is something that Rob Thomson was saying. We've won a lot of games with the way that we're our pitching orders working through. I'm comfortable with the way we do it. If we had a set guy, that'd be great, but I'm comfortable with what we do, and Hader doesn't seem to be somebody that's being brought in. But on the other side, the starting pitchers seem to be locked in, and I know that was mentioned back even when Aaron Nola was signed, but it was reiterated again. The pure optimism in Christopher Sanchez, but also even in Taijuan Walker, Gregory Soto. So bullpen arms, starting pitchers, pitching overall has been something that has been talked about for Rob and for Dave. And they've said for Taijuan specifically, he's a great guy. Everything's good. He's a great teammate. There's no issues there. Clearing the air on Taijuan. Talking about what Soto needs to do to get better. Talking about Kyle Schwarber in the leadoff role. So it's been a lot of just kind of what we knew and expected, but just the reassurances that are coming from Rob and Dave. And of course, we can deep dive that much more this week because we've got a lot of other things to get into, Jamie.
Yeah,
that we haven't had a chance to talk about.
The name that interests me, and I asked Tyler right before we went on the air, because I think it's going to be a right-handed bullpen arm, to replace Kimbrel. The name that came up, I believe it's from the Matt Gelb story, was Robert Stevenson. He would excite me a little bit. Last year, because starting pitching, as you said, and the manager and Dombrowski said, is set. Taijuan Walker's making a lot of money. Christopher Sanchez seems to be a really exciting fifth starter option. We'll see what he does in a full year in the role. But with Andrew Painter, a year away, it makes a lot of sense. They're not going to go spend there. But Robert Stevenson would be interesting. Last year, he pitched in 52 innings, had 77 Ks. If you're not a math whiz, that's 13.2 Ks per 9, which is a really nice rate. So he's got swing and miss stuff there. Only had 16 balls, base on balls. If you had 16 balls, that would be quite weird.
We call those walks, Jamie.
I was reading the stat line and it was BB, so I just said balls. And if he only threw 16 balls all year, that would be really impressive. But 16 base on balls or walks, as the layperson calls them. So really good numbers at 3.10 ERA. I think he would make a lot of sense here. Again, it's not going to be something exciting. Jason Stark, to get to the hot stove stuff, is saying somebody like Yamamoto could now be looking at a 10-year, $300 million deal. So the Phillies are not going to go get involved in a Yamamoto sweepstakes for a guy that's never thrown a pitch in Major League Baseball. They're not going to go give out 10-year deals and $300 million. So, yes, it's not going to be exciting. It's not going to be sexy, but this is what it is. And, Robert Stevenson, I think, would be, I want Jordan Hicks. I want just another freak that can throw 100 miles an hour all the time. But it's not going to be Hader because he's going to get over $100 million. It's not going to be, those big names. So Stevenson's a new name on the radar that I think is mildly enticing.
Yeah. And listen, for Rob and for Dave, the thing they've consistently talked about is how they feel confident in this group to be able to win the World Series. And, they feel like with a little bit more work and just with time that, with what the Phillies have right now, it's enough. It's good enough. And, having a chance to get a full year of Trey Turner and getting a better Bryson Stott and a better Alec Boehm, of course, even having Bryce Harper for a full year healthy, hopefully. Like, these are the types of things that bigger picture are being evaluated of, okay, but wait a minute, let's keep in mind all those little things of last season that now hopefully won't be the same issue. And also included in that, I know in the chat, I see Jake Cave talk. Jake Cave is included because, of course, Jake, AKA Nick to Jamie, of course, the Phillies tendered that $1 million contract to Jake Cave to avoid arbitration. So for Jake Cave specifically, when asked, Dombrowski was saying, who's better that can fit those types of roles out there? I'm not sure you're going to find a lot of different names. Maybe you're in a position where Johan Rojas isn't with us and you might go with some platoon scenarios out there in left field. So maybe he fits into that. They just feel like Jake Cave is a fit. And for now, Jake Cave is included in the future for the Phillies, and that's not going to change. So, overall, it's been a lot of just talk about the optimism, of course, evaluating the youngsters and the bullpen options. As you talk about, maybe that's bringing someone in, but maybe that's also just giving time for, the young bullpen arms to see how they develop. So it's going to be a lot of just kind of waiting for the Phillies. But a team that's not waiting at all and has been very aggressive, of course, the New York Yankees. And
Oh boy.
to hear all that they've got now, this in itself could be an hour-long show. Basically, we should have just did an extended edition of the show today because we're already at 12:50. And we're not even halfway through the major storylines here
when
today.
we get trolled by a professional baseball player, we can talk about some of those rumors tomorrow. But yeah, Joc Pederson kind of hijacked the show from us.
He absolutely did.
A little bit rude of him, I think.
So as we know, it appears we're getting close to the trade for Juan Soto. Mark Feisen had reported earlier that it appears very likely. Of course, now as of even us sitting on this show, the deal is getting closer to being finalized. We've been hearing all the Juan Soto reports. Looks like he's going to be with the Yankees next season. Of course, also with that is still the fact they're still chasing after Yamamoto. And that Yamamoto seems like someone that's very much going to be with the Yankees next year as well. So the Yankees still on for Soto even after the trade for Alex Verdugo, that they're still looking to bring in much, 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 much more. And then, of course, that trade did break yesterday that we saw that come into fruition. And for the Yankees, as they pick up, this is wild that the Yankees have been doing so much, but the Yankees have been looking for pieces, and that's what they got. So they bring in outfielder Alex Verdugo from the Red Sox. That happened Tuesday.
By the way, I would have gotten in the ballpark for him. He went for the Yankees' 13th top prospect, and two other kind of throw-in guys that are probably in that 15 to 20 range. The price was not very high.
No,
for a right-handed bat. He's primarily a right fielder, so maybe that didn't fit per se because I don't know if you necessarily want Nick in left, but Marsh can play left. So whatever, maybe it wasn't the best fit in the world, but he was cheap enough that I would have had maybe some slight interest.
In that deal, the Yankees moved number 12 prospect Richard Fitz. They moved Greg Weissert and Nicholas Judice. And then with that, the Yankees still are saying they're not done. Of course, Juan Soto's still on the table for them, but also maybe a Cody Bellinger signing. So the Yankees absolutely, and general manager Brian Cashman have been really out there dishing out the cash, looking to see all they can bring in. So that's the team right now that got to keep an eye on.
Yeah, they're meeting with Yamamoto, as you mentioned. And the other thing that came out on the Yamamoto front was that Mets owner Steve Cohen flew to Japan last week. So it seems very likely that Yamamoto will end up in New York.
Yeah.
And if what Jason Stark is hearing is true, let me just say this about Ohtani and Yamamoto. Both will probably there's a business that comes with them because the Japanese clubs or the Japanese TV networks are going to want to get the rights of whatever team he's playing for and so on and so on. So I understand there's more to it than just the product on the field, but these are nuts.
I know.
It's 10 years and $300 million for a guy that's never even thrown a pitch in Major League Baseball comes with a lot of risk. And Chris Mad Dog Russo was on ESPN this morning saying that he thinks the Ohtani deal is nuts too. I tend to agree a little bit. It's not my money, and I don't give a damn what owners spend and how they spend it. But he's not pitching this year, and he's been hurt now majorly twice in 4 years.
Yeah.
That's a lot of risk for somebody you're going to give potentially $600 million to. I know the owners got it like that, and it's fine, and they're not going to be in the poorhouse or anything. Yeah. But from a team roster construction building standpoint alone, it really kind of ham ties you to these two guys that are both fairly risky. Ohtani, there's no doubt about his skill. And Yamamoto clearly has stuff, but there's no given that he's going to be a success in Major League Baseball. So ideally what I'm getting at here is, please, Steve Cohen, go sign him for $300 million, and Yamamoto, please suck, because that would actually be hilarious to me.
It is wild when you think about the fact, as you mentioned, that both of them are still unknowns, and to be in the ballpark.
Well, Ohtani's known it's just risky from the injury,
exactly.
But Yamamoto's completely unknown.
So the unknowns for each of them are different in the sense that you have a 25-year-old Yamamoto who, as you mentioned, we haven't seen throw a pitch in the majors yet, even though we've seen him do a fantastic job in his career prior. But then on the other side, you talk about Shohei Ohtani, who's looking to be signed for 500 mil, 600 million, but is not even going to be able to pitch this upcoming season.
Yeah, you just kind of have to eat that. You're paying him for it.
You're willing to spend that money knowing, okay, he's gonna be a great two-way player in 2 years, but right now he's not gonna be able to pitch for us. He's just a DH, and we're gonna be okay with spending $500-600 million for Shohei Ohtani to come back from injury, back from surgery, to then hope and project he'll be back at 100%, the season after. So that's where it's like you're spending all this money for guys that you don't know what you're going to get fully from Yamamoto, and you don't know fully, okay, what is the exact timeline for Ohtani? Of course, we know he's not pitching this season, but
Barbara
that's a lot of money for a top pitcher that's not able to pitch.
Barbara Carroll says Ohtani can't pitch like he did before the surgery. Bet.
That's the other. So that's where the unknown is a little bit. Not everybody recovers the same way.
He'll probably be fine. He'll come back like Henry Rowan-Gardner. But to me, the more concerning thing is not that he comes back the same, but that he gets another one in, say, 2 to 3 years. If he's looking at 3 Tommy John surgeries before the age of 32, do you really want to invest that type of money? So clearly, I'm talking like a coward because these teams, the Dodgers, the Blue Jays, probably a couple others, the Giants and Yankees, probably all tried to, peck at it, but it appears it's going to be between the Dodgers and the Blue Jays. They clearly don't care.
They don't.
But to me, as somebody that thinks these numbers aren't real and birds are fake, I look at it and I go, man, $600 million for a guy that's already had 2 Tommy Johns. Like, that is risky as hell.
So, first of all, welcome into the chat. Now I see Tyreek's in there. Thanks for the compliment.
Yeah,
I know I see...
I was going to say, he gave you a nice compliment, so you gave him a shout. So apparently if you give Renee a nice compliment, she'll shout you out. So good morning, Tyreek.
Well, there were some other names that are in the chat that weren't in the show earlier that I saw, so I was going to say hello to them as well, but the chat has moved, so I can't see them anymore. It is all Joc Pederson. He had everybody excited for a moment. We thought we had some breaking news, and then we didn't. But I think it's kind of like, there's a really bad comparison, but it's the first thing I can think of.
All right, good.
If you had somebody, let's say you signed LeBron James, but LeBron can only play offense and not defense. And so it's not the same in baseball, but it's like Tyler's like, what are you talking about? Like, to sign a superstar that's not at 100%. So, okay, we're going to bring in Messi, but he's not playing on turf, which is real, actually. He'll only play on grass. Okay, so every game we have on turf, we're not seeing Messi out there for soccer. Like, it's just weird to me to think about paying so much money for someone that's not at 100%, which is the point I'm actually trying to get to, and that you're going to bring in Ohtani knowing he cannot pitch this season and hoping he gets back on his timeline's going to allow him to be at 100% strength the following season. So it's just insane to me. I will take $500 million and not be able to pitch, and I'll try to DH. I'll do it. Don't worry, guys. Sign me up. Where do I sign? I can do it.
You have to pay him for the year of being both while not doing both, and then you have to hope that he can sustain another 8 years or so without getting injured again. John Morosi just tweeted that a guy, me, and I think Tyler, and maybe you as well, I can't remember where you fell on him, Jordan Hicks, the Houston native, is drawing interest from the Rangers, Astros, and Angels, amongst other teams. So maybe you can hope the Phillies are one of those other teams, but it appears out of Nashville this morning, not one of the 3 favorites for him. So there you have it. There's going to be a lot happening here, especially if Soto does move. Somebody else said Ohtani's decision will come by Sunday. I think he's going to the Dodgers, right? Like, if I had to guess, I would say the Dodgers, which sucks because the National League is getting all the good players this year. So a lot's going to happen quickly.
Well, I was going to say, I feel like we almost should this show could be all day because stuff is just dropping in, because John Morosi was also talking about Corbin Burns. Let it burns, baby. Now, Brewers GM Matt Arnold told John Morosi that a lot of teams are asking about Corbin, and I think that's rightfully so. He's also one of the best pitchers we've had in our franchise history. We're thrilled to have him. We get that. But there's a lot of interest out there for Corbin Burns, by no surprise. And so wouldn't be surprised if we do get some Corbin Burns news or some increase in rumors of what those final teams look like or who's interested in Corbin Burns. Of course, we talked about him with the Phillies, but not looking like that will happen. But we might get some other Burns news. So some excitement to keep an eye on all day today. it's without a doubt going to be a day that everybody stay glued to your Twitter, your apps. And I'm getting like all the updates on my phone from MLB app and ESPN and all the different sources that are dropping news, because it's going to be a wild, wild day. So we'll have more that we can dive into tomorrow, of course, in terms of some of these deals and rumors and things that are being floated out there. Of course, we also did have last night, we saw, just quickly to run through before we get into our favorite part of the show. Now it's our favorite part because someone's winning. But we had the draft lottery happen on Tuesday. Of course, that was held. And with that, the Cleveland Guardians did pick up the top of the draft. They are going to be able
2%
to
chance.
lock in. Yeah, and that's wild. They were not even a favorite for it and definitely have locked in that number one spot. And so the complete draft order has been released with the Guardians at the top, and then the Reds, Rockies, and Athletics behind them following suit. As we
the Major League Baseball changed the draft a couple years ago, and it's weird. The top 6 teams, Tyler does not like it. He just gave me an emphatic thumbs up.
I hate draft lotteries. I think they're stupid.
Yeah, so there's 6 spots, and you're lottery eligible. Some of the worst teams, non-playoff teams, are lottery eligible. You can't be it 2 years in a row. So 1 through 6 is done through a lottery, and then 6 through 18, I guess it is done in the order of losing records.
Right.
And then the 18 through 30 is based on the playoff teams and how they finish. So that's how it goes. The Phillies, I think, are 27.
Yes, they are 27 between the Yankees and the Astros.
I hope they get some kid I've never heard of before.
But I think, okay, first of all, as you mentioned, the Guardians did have that 2% chance, the 9th highest chance of winning the number one pick. The Reds had a 0.9% chance of winning, and so on and so forth. But I do think it does help. I know it's not a huge exciting thing. They try to make it more exciting than it is by always bringing in like historic people connected to the club and different things like that. Across sports, you see them trying to make a big PR stink out of it because it's to add some extra excitement in the off season, but it also does allow for teams to avoid just tanking.
Yeah, like
and like purposely trying to lock in number one. And that's exactly it.
I saw our guy, Herb Lawrence, who works for the White Sox at our CHGO, and he was actually pissed that the White Sox ended up in the lottery this year because it means they can't be in it next year. And the big number one prospect in baseball is Jackson Holliday for the Orioles, who's probably going to be on the opening day club this year for the Orioles, Matt Holliday's son. Well, the reason Herb wanted to be in the lottery next year is because there's another Holiday, a younger Holiday who apparently can be as good as Jackson. So he's going to be the prize next year. So Herb was kind of pissed that the White Sox are out of contention now for him next year. And that's the way the MLB draft goes.
Yeah,
so let me tell you about your local Ford store. Make the Holiday Bright year-end sales event going on now through January 2nd. Because now is the best time to get incentives on Ford's full lineup of vehicles, including the F-Series. Ford F-Series, the best-selling line of trucks. You all know them. You see them out there everywhere. I grew up in a neighborhood full of them. They've been the number one selling truck in America for 46 straight years, which includes the F-150. F-150 has the best in-class available towing, up to 14,000 pounds. That's a lot of pounds of Joc Pederson's BS that you can carry around with you. Available payload up to 3,300 pounds. Ford trucks, including the F-150, are the number one in brand loyalty in the industry. Ford F-150 has class-exclusive equipment like the Pro Power on board, which provides an energy source with household outlets for your equipment, which is perfect for your work equipment, camping, and the unexpected need. And the Pro Trailer Backup Assist. You can back up trailers at the turn of a knob, so there's no guesswork. So customize your ride with an appearance package and available Ford accessories to fit your needs and style on the F-150 truck. Choose between 6 engine types for your Ford F-150 truck, like Power Boost or Eco Boost, V6 options, V8 options, and hybrid options. And there's also an all-electric variant, the Ford F-150 Lightning. So learn more about Ford's full lineup and the Make the Holiday Bright sales event at buyfordnow.com and head over to your local Ford dealership for a test drive. And let me also tell you about Game Time, because Game Time has a code for you, the sickos, the diehards here in the PHLY Phillies chat and podcast listeners. If you use code PHLY, you'll get $20 off your first purchase with Game Time, because buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. And everybody loves tickets to their favorite events around the holidays as gifts. They have killer last-minute deals on tickets and their best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hype for all the fun you're going to have. Get images of your seats before you buy them so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Buy tickets in a matter of seconds, just 2 taps and you're set. I did mine on Apple Pay. It was the easiest thing in the world. Tickets are sent directly to your phone so you never have to dig through your email. So snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and just redeem code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
All right. Well, in other news, as we get ready for a guest at Ballpark to see if Jamie can close the gap and try to catch up because he's losing.
Well, again, you don't get to peacock when you cheated for a week and a half before.
I make my own rules, and yes, I can. So, of course, we heard the reports for Shohei Ohtani, as we talked about yesterday, about the meetings that have been happening with the Blue Jays, but also the Dodgers did have some leak as they had their very own Roberts, who was sharing that, you know, clearly Shohei's their top priority for the Dodgers. And that had many people like, wait a minute, were you supposed to say that? Because Dave Roberts, you're not supposed to be leaking information about who you're going after. But that's not a surprise that Ohtani's anybody's top priority. And then also for the Braves, we had an update and them involved because the Braves have been one of those teams that we're keeping an eye on without a doubt. So the Braves had an opportunity to participate in a trade with the Pirates. So with that, the Pirates had a chance to add in and acquire veteran left-hander Marco Gonzalez from Atlanta for a player to be named later. So very interesting.
I always love players to be named
player
later.
To be named later or cash consideration. So basically it's like Marco Gonzalez for question mark. The Pirates will also be acquiring cash considerations in the deal and then Gonzalez is due to make, you know, just a whopping $12,250,000 next year in the final season of his 4-year, $30 million extension that he signed with the Mariners back in February of 2020.
Do you want to know who one of the most famous players to be named later is in Major League history? He is a Philly.
Edward Lynch?
He is a Philadelphia Philly.
Say it again.
Currently a Philly.
Oh. One of the most famous and best players to be named later trades in MLB history.
And he's currently a Philly?
Mm-hmm.
Kyle?
No, not Kyle.
Although I feel like I heard.
I'm sourcing this from an MLB.com article. And I did not know this before pulling this article up.
A current Philly. Well, I want to say Bryce, but like I don't feel like it's Bryce because I remember hearing that. I don't remember him ever.
Tyler, final guess?
Just throwing out.
Zach. Not Zach.
Currently on the active roster.
I'm just going to name everybody.
Yes, and a major contributor and highly paid.
Aaron?
Nope.
Has been with the Phillies forever.
JT Realmuto.
I'm just throwing out names
I
now.
genuinely don't know.
Trey Turner.
Really?
Was a player to be named later from San Diego to Washington back in 2014. Pretty wild to think about. So it goes on to say
San Diego to Washington. Who'd they get in that deal?
The Padres, Nationals, and Rays got together for one of the more jam-packed transactions in recent history. One that also changed an MLB rule. There were 11 players involved in the Will Myers, Joe Ross, Steven Souza Jr., plus a player to be named later, which everyone now knows turned out to be Turner. But there was one problem. He couldn't be traded at the time, at least not yet. At the time of the trade, a rule was in place that prevented a player from being officially traded for a year after he was drafted, which meant that Turner, who was the number 13 pick in the 2014 draft, had to wait until June 2015 to be traded to the Nationals. As a result, he spent the first 3 months of the 15 season playing for a team that had already traded him. I did not know that. That is pretty wild.
No idea.
That is insane.
Yeah, and the other players, it goes on, other famous player to be named later trades. Michael Brantley was one, which went on to a decent year. Gio Gonzalez was one, which ended up having a pretty decent career. Marco Scutaro, which I always love the name Marco Scutaro. David Ortiz was a player to be named later.
From Minnesota? Or
yes,
prior, or
in
to
the
Minnesota.
Seattle to
Minnesota,
Minnesota
yeah.
deal. So Big Papi was one. Jason Schmidt, who had a pretty nice year. Moises Alou.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
Yeah. And Shoeless Joe Jackson went from Philadelphia to Cleveland. And who could forget the summer of 1910, Renee? So
I remember it like it was yesterday,
Yeah.
James.
Oh, God, it was
Jamie,
a hot,
all those days back in 1910.
yeah, it was a hot summer that year.
I love how you entertained and said no to when I said Aaron Nola as if that was possible.
No. They
Or
drafted
like
him.
Price. I'm like,
That one I knew.
I'm like throwing it. If you guys know by now, whenever it comes to trivia, I just like catch up, like just throw out
Yeah,
whatever.
I didn't know about that about Trey Turner. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, that is actually insane.
Yeah. Some pretty
okay.
good players in that list.
Very much so.
So, who
name to
knows?
be
Maybe the Braves will
later.
get. Knowing that Alex Anthopoulos and the Braves, they're going to get some player to be named later that turns into the next Matt Olson and will torment the Phillies for 15 years. So don't send them anybody good, Pittsburgh.
Oh, man. All right. Well, on that note, I feel like let's get into some more trivia because why not keep this ball rolling and keep things moving on the trivia train? Because it's time.
Is that a police badge?
Wow. Tyler, you didn't even give me a chance to like.
Oh,
We're
looks
way
like
over
a
time.
police badge.
We
Way
gotta get
over
going. No ums and ahs. And
Well, let's wrap this up.
We're
Renee.
doing this quick
I'm
today.
not getting out of here until 2:30.
I was stolen.
That is a weird looking one.
It looks like a police shield or something.
It looks exactly like a police badge.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Who's got?
I guess you don't listen to me, Renee.
Wait, I said it first.
I said it first. As soon as it came up, I go, "That looks like a police badge."
Did you really?
He did.
Busted. All right. So what
always get on
stadium
you
looks
for
like
not
a police
listening to
badge?
me, and this time I didn't listen to you. That's weird that we both said the same thing.
I will say to you guys, I think that
stall.
this is one of the easier ones of
I
the
would
30.
think-
Do Nationals part? Wait, I need to find my list.
We have not guessed Toronto's ballpark, right?
No, I don't believe
we
we've.
did the
I don't
Nationals.
All right,
believe
so
we've
my
used.
cheat sheet is images from space. It prohibits me from looking at the dome stadiums. So I'm
Whose
just
fault
going
is
off
that?
of gut and vibes here.
Oh, I kind of want to say the Oakland A's.
Oh, you just piggybacking on Eugene Krabs there?
Wait, I didn't see him. I promise you. I'm looking at my list here.
Because Mr. Krabs has been pretty good at
weird.
this.
That's twice now that I've said something that somebody else said.
Mm-hmm.
It really because it's got the same rounded shape.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, dang it. Now it looks like I didn't come up with it myself, but I promise you I was not looking up. I don't look at the chat anymore. Like you guys keep dropping your thoughts.
I'm not going to go with
looking.
Great American Ballpark today, Tyler.
Oh, good for you. Look at the growth.
I wish you would have told me that before, because then I would have specifically picked Great American Ballpark.
Seriously.
I'm screw it. I'm just gonna go.
Tropicana?
I'm not going. I'm just gonna go with my gut. I'm
We did
going
Tropicana.
Toronto.
Okay, that one.
Whatever the
can't
hell
be.
that is. But I think Eugene Krabs could be right here.
Which means I'm right because I think it looked like.
Yeah, John Dickerson seems confident about it.
I think maybe I will lock in early today.
Wow.
Because I know our show's going a little bit longer.
This could be the best thing Eugene Krabs has ever brought to the table.
No, I did not look at the chat before consulting my list.
I think they're right, but I'm going to stick with Toronto and go down.
Yeah,
with,
that
go down
outfield
with the
is
ship.
looking very much. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna lock in on the Oakland A's.
They have the big foul territory. I think you.
Yeah.
guys
So
are
the
right.
large foul territory in this stadium was put in place.
Wait, have we
Football
heard
stadium.
the answer?
Hold on. This is the build-up part of this.
Oh,
This
no.
is the fun.
It's the football stadium.
The foul territory is here because for quite some time this was a multi-purpose stadium. One team
Oakland it
moved out
is.
about 5 years ago. The next one's moving out this year. It is Oakland.
Yes. That's fine. You're just gonna have the same answers as Mr. Krabs over there.
I promise you, I said it before
Yep.
I looked at the chat. You guys,
Says the girl that's been
swear-
cheating since day one.
I swear
no big
on
deal.
my everything that I did not look at the chat. But congratulations to King Krabs and whoever else had it in the chat. I think John Dickerson did as well as I'm looking through. Will said it. Lisa said it. Wow, we were all Team Oakland except for somebody in the room. So with that, oh my gosh. With that, the score is now up to 7-4. I won't say who has 7 and who has 4, but it's been a lot of fun. You know, I'm starting to like this game.
Well, you can just give me 5 because I'm going to get Great American Ballpark. I have to at this point.
Congrats, everybody. We did it. Woo, 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 woo. All right. So lots of news is breaking around the sports world. We will, of course, oh, man, I'm sorry, John, that an ad happened during Guess That Ballpark. I do swear on these boots, John Dickerson, that I did not look at the chat prior to my answer. I actually was looking at my list here and then said the answer and then looked up. So congrats to all of us that got it correct. It's been a fun day, guys. It's been such a fun day that we went over, and we thank you for hanging out with us for an extra 15 minutes. But it's going to be a wild rest of this Wednesday. I'm sure news will be breaking. We'll be hearing more rumors. We'll be hearing more details of signings or trades that are happening. So stay glued, stay locked. We'll, of course, be updating you on PHLY_Phillies for any updates that we can on Twitter and on social media. So make sure you're following, and we'll see you guys back. We're noon every single day this week. So we're back at noon.
Screw you, Joc Pederson. I think, unless you're a Philly and then you're cool.
So we'll be back for more PHLY Philly show powered by Ford, where you can check out buyfordnow.com to find and test drive the Ford nearest you. Thanks for tuning in, hitting that like button and subscribing. If you haven't already done so, do so on your way out. And for Tyler, Jamie, our friend John down in Nashville, and myself, Renee, we will see you next time. Woo, woo, woo.
We all silly like the mayor.